Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Well, the college football news just doesn't stop. The college football coaching carousel does not stop. Michigan's head coach, Sherrone Moore, now Michigan's ex-head coach. And not only has he been fired for cause, and he's been arrested. Allegations of an inappropriate relationship with a worker at a co-worker at the University of Michigan. Zero tolerance from the Wolverines. So everything topsy-turvy. That's a major job opening up. There are all kinds of rumor and speculation already. Kalen DeBoer at Alabama has been mentioned. And on top of that, it's not just the coaching carousel, but the transfer portal is about to open up. Michigan needs to come up with a good answer and come up with a good answer quickly, because they both have a young, talented roster that could be poached. They have a top 15 recruiting class that could be poached. And there'll be plenty of teams around college football, certainly in the Big Ten, but outside the Big Ten as well, looking to shop at the University of Michigan. So it's a bombshell development yesterday afternoon with the story kind of developing into the evening. We'll see where that goes. A little closer to home, the Utah Mammoth get beat again. They've lost 3 in a row now. They've lost 7 of their last 9. It's not going well. This one's kind of predictable. It's hard fought. Played the Florida Panthers, lost 4-3, was tied at 1 after 1 period, tied at 3 after 2 periods, and they give up a goal in the final minute and lose 4-3. It was a rough one. Another L. Little encouraging signs, but they don't really need encouraging signs. They need wins. All right, let's get to it. Here is the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Florida Panthers scored in the final minute of regulation, and the Utah Mammoth fall in a heartbreaker, 4-3 at the Delta Center on Wednesday night. It was a game where Utah got a breakaway goal from Dylan Gunther in the first to go up 1-0.
Now Gunther's got a break. Gunther moves in and scores! Dylan Gunther scoring and soaring, and it's 1-0.
Blazing start for Utah out of the gates as they had 9 shots in the first 10 minutes, second most in a game, and then they were able to capitalize on that Dylan Gunther goal with the feed ahead from John Marino, 11:23 into the opening frame. Florida then started a stretch of 3 goals in just over 4 minutes, and they all of a sudden had a 3-1 lead. Carter Verhaeghe in the final minute of the first, and then Sam Bennett, 1:40 into the second and 3:24 into the second. 3-1 Panthers at that point, but Utah stormed back from, guess who? Dylan Gunther.
A missed assignment, but now it's Gunther on another break. Gunther looking for number 2, and he scores! Dylan Gunther gets one back.
So back to a 1-goal game after the Panthers led 3-1 for 13 seconds. And Utah, just a few minutes later, would get Jack McBain's second of the year out in front, slamming one home on Sergei Bobrovsky. And we were tied at 3.
Back of goal for Utah up top. One-timer, Durzian, rebound, loose, and they score! Jack McBain taps it in, and we're tied at 3.
Great goaltender matchup at Delta Center on Wednesday night. Sergei Bobrovsky, the 2-time Stanley Cup champion, winning goaltender. Karel Vejmelka stopped 32. Veggie saw 18 shots in the third period before Florida scored on their 19th in the final minute, but he was under attack and coming up huge.
Still loose in the Utah zone. Rodriguez Jones fires one on target. Save Vejmelka, and he reached back to save the rebound as well. Loose on the side of the net. Veggie's got it covered.
And then harmlessly enough, off a face-off, kind of a broken play, Anton Lundell with 52 seconds left to go in the third. That does it. Panthers take it 4-3. Mammoth back home tomorrow, hosting Seattle at 7 p.m. We'll have it for you on the AM side, but the Jazz at Memphis will be on AM 1280, the KSL Sports Zone, starting at 6 on Friday night. Let's hear from head coach Andre Turney after this one.
Obviously, a tough pill to swallow, the way it happened. Veggie was really good. I think we showed a lot of character, being down by 2 goals and coming back in the game and give ourselves a chance. Like I said, really frustrating to lose in that fashion. I think in the third period we we got in trouble, got in the box. That's how they got their momentum. I think at 5-on-5 we played good. Well, a little bit too much on our heels, but mostly from our penalties. And I think we defended well until the last minute.
Something that we talked about pregame was having a strong start, bringing energy, bringing speed in that opening frame. What did you see out of your team?
Yeah, well, I was happy about that. I think we were focused, we were urgent. Obviously, they're a good team, and I think we did a lot of good stuff. I didn't like our start of the second. Well, it's not true. We didn't play bad. We made 2 mistakes, and they capitalized on those 2 mistakes, which is it's not what you want, but at some point, not expecting either to play a perfect game. So there were unforced. The second one was unforced. That I didn't like, but other than that, was not like we were not playing well. We were playing well and made an individual mistake, and then we showed a lot of character to come back in the game and to tie the game. And we had good momentum. We applied a lot of pressure. We did a lot of good stuff. And like I said about the third period, that's unfortunate.
Just in terms of the character game, Dylan and Jack both mentioned that as well.
No, yeah.
Is that what is the building block for character games? How do you stack those?
Well, there's a couple of things. Obviously, I will need to unpack it, and I'm human too. I'm frustrated. I'm not. It's, like I said, tough pill to swallow. You want to win, or you want to at least get a point out of that game. So I will need to unpack it. But one thing. We generate from different fashion. We had a good net presence. If I'm not, Florida is one of the most stingy team in the league, and we generate a fair amount of opportunity, above three of expected goal for. So we generate way more than what they normally give. That's a positive. Obviously, we'll have loved to defend a little bit better, especially in the third. I think they, like I said, I don't want to repeat too much, but get the momentum on their power play, and it was tough for us to regain the momentum after.
Dylan Guenther, who had his first 2-goal game of the season on Wednesday night. Last year at this time he had 3, but he's still trending ahead of the 27 goals that he had last season, even before the 2 that he scored on Wednesday night. Scored a pair on a breakaway as Utah in their third game without Logan Cooley. And you get guys like Dylan Guenther doing some big stuff to keep the Mammoth rolling offensively. Utah has now scored 3 goals or more in 8 of their last 11. We heard from Dylan Guenther after the game.
We played pretty well. Even in the third, I thought we managed it well. They played really well, and we were on our heels too much. Probably just a few more pucks in deep and a few more offensive zone drives. Jack mentioned the word character game. What does that mean to you in terms of the way this group plays? Yeah, they got up early, and we came back and fought hard. And I thought we played well, but wanted to get the 2 points at the end.
What did you see out of your goaltender on that power play that Florida had at the end, and then him stopping all those shots in the third? Yeah, he played really well. Feel for him. We want to get that win for him, and he kept us in it, especially in the end. I think they had like 19 shots in the third. So, that comes with power plays, but still too many.
2 goals on the breakaway for you now. How much of a confidence boost is that for you as an individual?
Yeah, it's nice. Just try to use my speed and get above guys. They're man on man pretty much all over the ice, so just try to beat my guys up the ice.
You scored pretty much the same goal twice. Was that the second time you had it on your stick? Were you just thinking, it worked the first time, might as well try it again? Or? Yeah,
I thought maybe you'd see that coming, so I just went to the backhand, and it happened so fast, but just reps and the pre-scout too.
How do you guys get on the other side of a lot of these 1-goal games? Is losing so many, but how do you get on the other side of that?
I think to shoot a few more pucks. Be comfortable in those situations. When the game's tight, I don't think we have to get on our heels. Just keep pressing, keep attacking them, and it's unfortunate, but we play again in 2 nights, so make sure we get one to close it out.
Third period, they have control of the ice, in the offensive puck, control the puck in the offensive zone. Sorry, just what is it that you guys can do to kind of gain more control late in the game and try to tilt the ice a little bit?
I think maybe just tighten up our shifts, shorten them up throughout the game. Playing a lot, so guys are tired, guys are banged up, and try to do that, a few more offensive zone draws, and just making sure when we get the puck out, it's going all the way down, not just three-quarter ice.
What are you guys learning right now?
I think that we're in every game and just have to find a way to get the 2 points.
Thanks.
Jack McBain joined a new line on Wednesday night, playing with Michael Carconi and Daniil Boot as head coach Andre Tourigny swapped Hayton and Boot on the second and third lines, and both those lines got at least a goal. Krause, Hayton, and Gunther got 2. Carconi, McBain, and Boot got 1. And we heard from Jack McBain after the game, just over 48 hours after he laid down 7 hits for the Mammoth Wednesday night, scored a big goal.
I think it's fair to say that was probably one of the best fights and willingness to battle we've seen out of you guys in a while. Let's start with the positives, the takeaways you guys had from that game in terms of effort.
Yeah, I just think we showed good character coming back in the second there. Probably could have done a little bit more in the third, but it's a good team. We hung in there for a while. It's unfortunate outcome.
As far as, the learning lessons, the adversity you guys learned from, a few too many opportunities that they took advantage of, what would those areas of improvement be?
I think we did a pretty good job getting to the net. I think not only bodies, but we got a lot of pucks there. I think we were pretty stingy through most of the game. I think obviously learn from it, move on, and try to get better.
What stood out about the start that you guys had, bringing your speed and relentless energy against them?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought we were generating, throughout the lineup. I thought, a lot of guys had good games, and I think when we're playing like that, we were definitely tough to play against. So, more of it.
So Utah entered Wednesday in a playoff spot. Chicago won on Wednesday, so the Mammoth now a point out. But for Utah, again, the grand expectation is to make the playoffs, but with the schedule that they've got before Christmas, General Manager Bill Armstrong has stated it's the goal just to be in a good spot going into Christmas. Not being in a playoff spot right now isn't something that is overly concerning. Just aware of the schedule and the games that have piled up. Again, we say this is a playoff team, but after 82 games, not necessarily on December 11th. We'll be talking all about it on Mammoth Daily, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, the Utah Mammoth YouTube page, and SCG Plus. Mike Folta and I will be along. We'll get his morning after. Our Thursday Expert Series, we'll have Nick Olczyk joining us to talk about what's it like being between the benches during games, and we'll take a look back at our Pay It Forward Day for our players and where they were at. Smiths, Target, Swig, on Tuesday. A fun edition of Mammoth Daily coming up. Hockey Night in Utah returning on Friday again on the AM dial, 6 p.m. Hockey Night in Utah on 1280. Puck drops just after 7.
There is the best of the post-game show as the Utah Mammoth lose at home to the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. When we come back, we're talking football with Riley Jensen. Stay with us. DJ PK, and we're joined by Riley Jensen, college football expert and mental performance coach. Riley, good morning.
Good morning, my guys.
You having a post-football letdown, or you're all fired up for bowl games and playoffs?
A little bit of a letdown. The bowl games, to me, have definitely taken a little bit of a hit. But I am looking forward to the playoffs. I think the playoffs will be really fun to watch.
It's really amazing to me to watch BYU's offense look so good on that first possession and go 90 yards in, I don't know how many, was it 10, 12, 14 plays, and then really couldn't do anything the rest of the game, and it looked creative, and it looked like, okay, man, they got a shot to make this competitive, and then it didn't happen. How do you explain that?
Well, first of all, every first drive is scripted, so it's probably the plays that you've run the most. But the one thing that Texas Tech is really good at that I don't think people are talking about, yes, they're really good on the defensive line. Yes, they're really good on the offensive line, but their coaching is good. They make good adjustments. They adjust to the different things that are going on. And then I think the other thing is LJ was more healthy. I thought they were going to – I kind of thought the same thing as you, so I'm thinking out loud a little bit, like what happened. But I also think that in the progression of Bear Bachmeier, he's going to have to learn – I mean, he's been so effective in running the football when things haven't gone or haven't looked the way that he wants them to look downfield. And Texas Tech, in both games that they played, they completely took that away from him. So it's no different than a basketball player when one portion of your game is off or one portion of your game is taken away. You got to really figure out how to contribute to your team when your shot's off, for example. So can you rebound? Can you play defense? Can you make sure that you're hitting the open guy, on offense in basketball? And I think that's what Bear's going to have. That's going to be the next level thing, is that he can turn a regular play into a backyard play, but there are times where they're going to take that away from you, and then what? And I think that's the next progression for him. I'm not saying that he played a terrible season or that he didn't play good. There's so much to be hopeful for, but against the really good teams, they're going to try and take away something from you. And are you able to pivot and be able to use the rest of your game to be able to win games for your team? Because he can't just be a game manager if you're going to play, against the best of the best. He's going to have to be able to win games for this team. And I think he has it in him. I think that his progression is right on track, if not ahead of where I thought it could be or should be as a big-time quarterback. But it just takes time. And every game that he gets is going to be an opportunity to see a different defense, to see a different reaction to his talent and to the talent of the team that's around him, and then get just a little bit better each year, each game, each week.
I thought the first drive they were able to block Texas Tech a little bit, and after that, I thought they couldn't. And I thought some of the turnovers, especially the fumble on the play where the quarterback's got his back to the line of scrimmage, it was like a jailbreak. Three defenders beat their blockers and were in the backfield almost instantly. How much of all of this can be summed up to you can't block Texas Tech, and that's why they beat BYU twice and Utah once, and those schools didn't really lose to anybody else. They dominated everybody else in the Big 12. But they just couldn't block Texas Tech.
No, he couldn't. I mean, I really think football comes down, as much as I love the quarterback position, as much as I love watching the beauty and the art of skill positions. I mean, you ask any football coach, you give them truth serum, and it's all about the offensive and defensive lines. And there's some cobwebs on the offensive line as well. I mean, there were some things that happened where you could almost see the offensive line for BYU just go, oh man, like they were just like, oh man, this is happening again, and you could see them lose some confidence. Like that first drive was a real confidence builder. So I was with PK where I was like, ooh, okay, so they made some adjustments and they came off the ball and they were ready to go. And then, some of the adjustments from Texas Tech just had the offensive line for BYU on their heels. And then I think on the other side of the ball too, the defensive line just wasn't able to put the pressure on the ball and to do the things that a normal BYU defense has been able to do in Texas. I mean, I'm with Kalani. I don't see a lot of flaws in Texas Tech. Like, I think they have a real opportunity to do something in this playoff. And if they do, that bodes well. That bodes well for the Big 12. That bodes really well for the Big 12.
Now we're in a transfer season, and we see kids come and go, some 2 and 3 times. And you were a player, and it's impossible to provide an accurate answer, but it's more a surmise of what you might have thought you would do in the situation. And I'll propose a situation to you to where you're in a good situation, right? You're playing well, team's winning, maybe not winning all, but you're winning half or more of your games, and you like where you're at, but somebody can give you double or even triple the money. What do you think you would do?
So this is a tough one, and this has a little bit to do with my history, I transferred before it was cool, and certainly way before there was any sort of money that would be involved. Here's what I think young kids are forgetting, and this is also where the money could actually make teams that aren't very good a little bit better. Is you're now a professional athlete, and let's just say that you're playing. Let's just say you're a quarterback at Idaho State, and you started your freshman and your sophomore year, and you threw for 3,000 yards, right? And your team is competing in the FCS championships, and they're playing really well. Well, I mean, and you get offered to go play at Washington, right? That's an easy choice, I think. You're not talking about that scenario, but you're talking about You're talking about a Utah State quarterback that's competing for a Mountain West Conference championship, and then somebody comes knocking on the door and doubles or triples what you're making. I think the temptation's there, especially depending on the amount of money. I mean, I was looking through the list of the top 25 paid athletes in college football. There wasn't one that was under $1.6 million.
Right.
I mean, that's really, really good money to get you started in life. I think it would be really, really hard to turn that down, especially but not every player's getting offered that, So it's hard for me to tell a kid not to take the money, but I will tell you that happiness doesn't exist on the other side just because you're getting paid. If you go to an average team and they're paying you a lot, football's not very fun on loss weeks. I can tell you that as a guy who's experienced 10-1 in a season and a guy who's experienced 3-8 in a season. It's not very fun when you're 3-8. I don't care who you are. It's not very fun. And so if you're getting paid a lot of money, but you're 3-8, and that's not true happiness. And you're not going to play as good as you can play when you're on a 3-8 team as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm looking at Sam Levitt and Sorsby, two guys in the Big 12 that played on teams that won games, right? Just this year. Obviously, Levitt had the big season last year as far as the team winning games. But both those guys have an opportunity to get way more money. But they're in good situations. But the money's going to be better someplace else. I'm just wondering, what do? You chase the money. I would never criticize somebody for chasing the money because that's exactly what it is. It's money, and that provides you with opportunities that money doesn't provide you with. And then you wonder, 10, 15 years later, should I have stayed with my guys, but I took the money? It's a dilemma for these young fellows that they find themselves in. A good dilemma, but nevertheless, it's a dilemma.
Well, I think it's hard because, you have Daniels who for Sam Levitt, it's almost the exact same scenario, right? It's LSU that's probably going to poach and probably pay him between $4 and $5 million. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a lot of money. My thought is, though, with Sam Levitt is you're going to go pro anyway. So what are you chasing? I mean, not just last year you were in the playoffs and you had an opportunity to take your team. So I don't know. I don't know that that's an easy decision because I think he was on that list of top 25 players. I think he was one of the lower ones at 1.6. But he's probably going to get offered around $5 million to play. You're talking about 5 times as much as you make.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, any of us would take that.
Right.
Any of us would take that right now. Yeah. I don't know exactly what your contracts are. I know what mine is, and I think 5 times more than what I'm making. I'm like, honey, I think we're moving.
I think the easy math on $5 million, Riley, is if he lost half of it in taxes and spent $500,000, I don't know, bought a house and had a very small mortgage or whatever, he'd have $2 million to invest, which means that's probably $80,000. Assuming 4%, that's $80,000 a year for the rest of his life. Invested, that he doesn't have to go to work and earn. He earned whatever he does. Yeah. He's got to stay busy. Whatever he does the rest of his life is on top of this steady stream of $80,000 a year.
Right.
Well,
that's
like an annuity.
Really, yeah, exactly. It's an annuity. And so that's really hard to walk away from. You still tell someone, hey, I don't want to leave ASU, but I can buy a house and get $80,000 a year for the rest of my life.
And NFL's not off the table. It's not like he still doesn't have the opportunities.
Yeah, it's a question mark for him. It could go either way.
Right, but I'm just saying, it's not like because he goes to LSU, like he's not gonna have the opportunities that he has at Arizona State. So it's hard to turn down. It is. The truth is we're talking about the outliers. The two players that you're talking about are outliers.
Yeah.
I just saw a tweet this morning from a college coach that said only 40% of the players who went into the portal got picked up and were even offered a scholarship, let alone money, right? So it's easy to get lost looking at the outliers. The truth is transferring is not always what it's cracked up to be, and it never has been. The water's, the grass is greener where you water it. And I think that's still true, even with the money that's going on.
Grass is greener
where you water it.
So I always like to, my mother said, don't bleep where you eat. And so you're talking about the grass is greener where you water it. And I kind of look at it differently.
I kind of like your mom's quote's pretty good, too. I like that one.
Yeah, my mother's vocabulary and DJ's mother's vocabulary was quite different.
I think my mother's vocabulary and my kids' mother's vocabulary is also quite a bit different. I think that has to do with back east. I'm not going to lie.
Well, you need some of that, man. Can't all be roses and sunshine all day long.
I don't think. Listen, my mom. I actually have this theory that moms are what make little boys tough, because dads are always going to get on their kids, right? But it's moms that make your kids tough. My mom was actually tough on me in a lot of ways. She just didn't use curse words. My wife does both.
I don't see how you live without doing both, actually.
I know, because you're from back east.
I am.
Dude, I talked to you for like 5 minutes. I'm like, golly, there's a lot of similarities here. These people.
I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. I know what it is. I don't know why it is.
I love it. I mean, obviously, I married into it. So.
Yeah. You're one of us now by relations, by marriage. Yeah, so that's good enough. You understand.
I know. And it's funny because you'll see a coach yell at my son, and it doesn't even. It's like it's not as bad as what mom would say. I mean. My wife teases my son so bad after a bad game. It's like a joke, It's like, oh really? We, 2 for 8 from the free throw line. That's who we are. That's what we are as a family. That's what we do. And I'm like, dude, easy.
The mental health performance coach. I would not be recommending.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if this is the right approach, but. I mean, you do you. I'll do my stuff on the other side.
Riley, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week, and there'll be a bowl game looming at that point.
I'm pumped about it. It's going to be fun to watch BYU play against Georgia Tech. It's going to be fun to watch Utah against. Yeah, I mean, all the teams in the state of Utah in a bowl game, it's fun.
There's Riley Jensen. A reminder, get the best blankets and gifts ever and save 50% this season with promo code ZONE50. Shop online at MikiCouture.com or visit any of their 6 locations. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Dick Gabriel. He covers the University of Kentucky. Like Utah, they are looking for financial solutions. They are looking for more money, and they've turned to an LLC. How's it working there? How similar is it to what's happening at Utah? Plenty of questions. We'll try to get some answers from Dick Gabriel next. Stay with us. DJ PK, and we're joined now by Dick Gabriel, Big Blue Insider host and Kentucky Wildcats sideline reporter. Dick, good morning.
Some people call me DG, so
DG
right in.
DJ PK. All right, DG.
You guys, you're up early, man.
Yeah, we are. That's fact. So the University of Utah announced this private equity deal for $500 million, and we found out Kentucky has done an LLC. Maybe they haven't done the same thing. Maybe they are tiptoeing towards that. We don't know much about this high finance stuff. Explain it to us like we're five, and is it working, and how is it helping? How does it matter to the average sports fan?
I'm a fellow 5-year-old. But what you just need to understand, like all of us do, is it's about revenue streams. College athletic departments have run out of I shouldn't say that. They're looking for creative new revenue streams because, let's face it, what they've gotten in the past, the majority of it has been broadcast revenue.
Yeah.
TV rights, local and national and regional. The SEC network has enriched all these SEC schools. The Big Ten makes even more. I'm not sure what it's like on your side of the country, but it's top heavy over here. But they need more. They're always going to need more. And then every AD, at least in the power schools, Division I, they got stuck with this $20.5 million price tag. You're supposed to spend X amount of dollars on these athletes. Now, where's that going to come from? Well, some schools are going to chop sports. They just have to. They haven't done that over here yet. But, look at a school like Ohio State's got 36. Kentucky funds more sports teams than any school in the Southeastern Conference, believe it or not. Amazingly, one of them is not equine. Here we are in the middle of horse country, and they don't have an equine program, but it's too expensive. That's what they have to look at now. So they're just looking for newer ways to make money. Now they're selling alcohol in stadiums. So they came up here with what's called the Champions Blue LLC that the Board of Trustees here has approved. It's a limited liability kind of holding company deal like you guys have over there. You're about to. And it's essentially been a success here in that it's similar to how Kentucky, UK in recent years acquired two major community hospitals, one in Ashland, Kentucky, and Eastern Kentucky, one in Moorhead, Kentucky, similar area. And they are similarly structured within similarly structured holding companies that do report to the university and its board of trustees. So they had a roadmap that enabled them to see that this can work. Why couldn't it work in athletics? So that's kind of the Sesame Street version of it, and really that's my level of understanding. I just know that having talked to the athletic director here and others, man, they're running out of ways to make money. They don't want to. They're going to have to. They don't want to raise ticket prices. They cannot renegotiate very often TV and radio. What else can they do, right?
How much of that transfers down to the forms of NIL? We at least hear with Mark Pope, we follow him because he coached here, obviously, that the basketball team is well compensated. Now, I know they're having their struggles, but that's beside the point. I'm just wondering how much of all this stuff that's been going on ends up in the pockets of the players.
It goes through that $20.5 million. That's right. And then now the rest, in terms of the guidelines, has to come from outside entities, from donors, from companies, things like that. That's some of the structure that Mitch Barnard, the AD here, has been keeping an eye on. You cannot, and they moved quickly to shut this down. You can't give a kid a high-paying job. You're going to pay $100,000 to make sure the lights at the football stadium aren't on tonight. That sort of stuff. That's old school graft.
Yeah.
So they did away with bogus jobs, or they've tried to do away with bogus jobs. You can be paid for a job, but it's got to be what Joe Bag of Donuts gets paid, not just a college athlete. So to answer your question directly, it goes into that big pool, the $20.5 million, but a lot of the NIL money comes from outside the university. It has to by rule.
So these people coming in with, in the case of you here, these private equity people, they're going to want money back. And, of course, coaches need money. There's travel expenses. You got the whole staff to pay for. Now you're paying players, too. So now there's going to be another mouth to feed, essentially. And where's that money going to come from? And I'm wondering how much of it comes from facilities. At the U, they could build a new basketball arena. The old one's been there since, I think, 1969. It doesn't have luxury suites and bunker suites and all kinds of high-end stuff. Maybe there's a lot of money to be made there. Have there been not an investment in facilities like practice facilities and that kind of stuff, which are expensive but don't generate revenue? Have they done stuff with like football stadiums, with Rupp Arena? Have they done anything there? Is there anything you could tell us about how that's worked?
Yes, that's a great question because University of Kentucky is a tenant in the building where it plays. Rupp Arena does not belong to the university. It belongs to the city of Lexington, to the downtown Lexington Corporation, basically. Kentucky rents the building. And there have been years where, back when concerts were much bigger than they are now, they had to work in and around concert scheduling. The first event in Rupp Arena in 1976 was not a Kentucky basketball game, my friends. It was a Lawrence Welk concert.
Well, of course.
It's better now. Yeah.
The Maestro.
And they filled the house. But there aren't as many events like that now. But on the other side of campus, they renovated the Kentucky football stadium several years ago. They reduced the seating capacity, which, as I understand it, is not unusual now, so they could put in more suites. So to answer your question, that's a good question. Yeah, they're making more money, or at least trying to make more money off, of course, ticket sales, but the suite sales at football. Now, you've got to have a winning program, obviously, and they just fired their football coach, who had become the winningest coach of all time at Kentucky, 8 straight bowl games. And I will tell you this, and I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but the Kentucky football coach was a victim of his own success. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, but he was. So back-to-back losing seasons, he's out. And now people who were saying, I'm not pouring another dollar into that program. I mean rank-and-file fans, not just boosters, because they're playing crappy football. Well, now they're excited again because they just hired Oregon's offensive coordinator. So the combination of ticket sales, suite sales, alcohol sales, now they've got a plan on the boards for expanding that area around there. Maybe put up a hotel, in a concert area, things like that. But now they're going to have to borrow money from the state to do that. They did renovate Rupp Arena a few years ago, but it was the city that did that. Kentucky does not have a great deal with Rupp Arena. The city gets the parking money. The city gets, I don't know how much of a cut Kentucky gets from concessions and things like that, but it's not a real super deal. And there was a point where Kentucky looked at building an on-campus basketball facility and thumbing its nose at Rupp Arena, but they realized in order to build it to the standards that they want, in other words, seating capacity and everything you need and having it up to code, it would have cost between $750 million and $1 billion to put it on campus. So not feasible. So they got the deal they got.
We see Texas Tech with this Cody Campbell just infusing all sorts of money into their program, and look at them go, right? And we've seen other programs. I'm wondering, from a general standpoint and also from a specific standpoint with what Kentucky's got going on, is that going to be the requirement for success? Is that you must have not just one, not two. And we've seen it with BYU here with their basketball team and what they're doing, obviously. I mean, just the amount of improvements. Mark Pope, I don't think would recognize the program if he came back, and he's barely even gone 2 years, not even 2 years yet. I mean, you just look at the number of bodies because they all wear the same clothes behind the bench. And I was joking last night with Mark Pope's predecessor, Dave Rose, about the number of people on the staff now. And, it's largely they've got these big-time boosters. There was an ESPN story that one booster said relative to the basketball team, you will not outbid us, or we will not be outbid, something along those lines. So is it going to come down to, and what does Kentucky have available as far as those types of big-money guys?
Not as much as schools located in the West Texas oil country. And I worked in Texas for a couple of years, so I know what's what over there. And that's an incredible story at Texas Tech with a guy and his partner who started buying up oil leases and or land leases and struck oil. You almost have to do that But the problem in the state of Kentucky is, while it may be in terms of tradition basketball rich, it's not a rich state. And there is one man in particular who is a billionaire, and his name is Joe Kraft, and a couple of buildings are named after him. He is an incredibly generous person. He just, donated homes to 10 different families in eastern Kentucky that were wiped out by a recent flood. He and his wife do a lot of charity work, but they're huge Kentucky fans. And in fact, his wife made it a point of standing in the coach's box on the sidelines with the Kentucky football coaching staff this season. Usually she's up in the suites for much of the game and, maybe on the sideline for the first part of the game. She stood in the coach's box as a show of solidarity with Mark Stoops. Didn't stand right next to him, but so anyhow, they're big Kentucky fans. But as he put it to one of my colleagues, I'm the only one in terms of the billionaires, and I don't know how many there are in Kentucky, but he's the guy for UK. They've got more than one benefactor, but he's the richest, he's the biggest name, and he's only going to donate so much. So they got to develop some new relationships. But you're right on. I mean, every school that looks to try to outbid people. Here's the problem, though, is now you've got a basketball program that's struggling for whatever reason, and immediately people assume nationwide, and that's just here in Kentucky, that all these kids care about is their money. And I don't necessarily believe that, but it certainly cushions the blow, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, as long as we're talking about the struggles, and a lot of people here know Mark Pope because he was at Utah Valley before he was at BYU, so he's got some, he spent some time here to be sure. Kentucky's 6-4. Now, this is just my cursory look, but I see 6 money games at home that they won, that they were supposed to, that they paid to win, and I see 4 ranked opponents in power leagues, all recognizable names, including in-state rival Louisville, and I see losses. So I'm thinking massive amounts of dissension. Is this something they're capable of turning around, or this team is what it is?
Not just losses, butt kickings. That's what's bothered people. I don't think there's dissension. I think there's confusion. And I think the biggest reason is the fact that their point guard, the guy I don't know what they paid, but they brought in Jalen Lowe, who was an excellent point guard at Pittsburgh, not a great shooter, but a great playmaker. He carried that team last year, hurt his shoulder in the offseason, then hurt it again in the inter-squad game, and now he's going to be day-to-day for the rest of the year. It's just a matter with that labrum injury of how much he can take. He played last night, but came in, midway through the second half. Against Gonzaga, it was a nightmare, a disaster, because their shots weren't falling. They weren't getting good shots, and they let go of the rope. And they looked awful to the point where DeMarcus Cousins tweeted that they had no heart. Dan Issel went on the radio. He used to have a radio show in Louisville, and he checked in from his home. I think he still lives in Denver, and said his team is hard to watch. Well, it is, because there's no cohesion offensively, because they've got Denzel Aberdeen, who played at Florida last year, who's not really a point guard trying to run the point. And, Mark's got to shoulder a lot of the blame because he built this roster, and on paper it looked great until you realize there's no backup true point guard. And they ran into that problem last year, and they have that problem again this year. So he's going to deal with this, I think, for the rest of the year. He hadn't forgotten how to coach. He did a great job last year. But it's the mix right now that isn't working because they don't have anybody who can get them into their offense. So now when the shots aren't falling, they look awful.
Mark here, to some folks, was perceived as a lot of hype, and how much substance was there behind it. And depending on who you are, I can give you a lot of people who love the guy, and I can give you some people who think he's a big old phony. How is he received there as a person?
Well, of course, this being Kentucky with the Big Blue Nation, you've already got fans who are saying, this guy needs to go, But I wish you may have seen video of the news conference, which was really a pep rally, the day he was introduced as the head coach.
Oh, yeah, we saw
And there were a lot of people back then. Oh, yeah. And as you know, there were probably a lot of people who still are skeptical about Pope. Is this the right guy for the job? But Calipari had just left. He had lost touch with the fans. just seemed really distant, seemed that he wasn't more interested in putting kids in the NBA. That wasn't the case. But he talked it up a lot because that's how he was able to recruit top-level players, talking up the NBA all the time. And it worked. Now, he lost too many games he shouldn't have lost, so they needed a break from each other, the school and Calipari. So when Mark Pope came on, quote-unquote, one of our own, said the fans, national champion, he pushed every button in that introductory news conference without prompting from the university. I was thinking, man, they've really prepped him well for this. We later found out he didn't talk to anybody. He did it all on his own. He's a smart guy, you know that. Look, he's a good coach. He is. He's. I think I've known Mark since he was a player here. I produced a documentary about the 1996 team. I did a 1-hour special just with Mark after the championship game. So I've known him for a while. He is who he is. Now, what he showed last night during their win over NC Central, which is not a great team, and they destroyed them, but his backup center, loafed down the floor during a fast break. Pope yanked him, benched him for the rest of the game, visibly upset. Didn't reach Pitino levels.
Go sit down.
But yes, go sit down, exactly. That is something that fans had not seen yet from Mark Pope. That might be a breakthrough moment.
Well, DG, we appreciate the time and the perspective. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime, fellas. Have a great day.
All right, there's Dick Gabriel covering the University of Kentucky. Coming up, we're talking Big 12 football with Barry Trammell at 8 o'clock, and Frank Dolce joins us at 8:30. Stay with us. What is trending? The headlines are coming up next.